coming up on the Lowcountry Explorer Podcast.
Now, I had a question in my mind because my boy, at age 3, he was drawing cartoon. And I couldn't figure where this boy get this cartoon from, this art from. Lo and behold, the genes in me passed on to him. I had no clue till later in life.
Welcome to the Lowcountry Explorer Podcast. I'm your host, Sasha Horne. Each week, I'm taking you with me across the South Carolina Lowcountry, meeting the people who shaped it, discovering the places that define it, and uncovering the stories that give this region its soul. So, settle in, come explore with me. There's always something new waiting just beyond the tide.
This is the Lowcountry Explorer Podcast.
Hi, I'm Sasha Horne, and you are listening to the Lowcountry Explorer Podcast. Today, I am joined by the legendary Reverend Johnnie Simmons, who is known for his work as a Gullah folk artist in the Sea Island and the Lowcountry. But today, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of his favorite memories and places to go throughout the Lowcountry. So, Reverend Simmons, for those who do not know you and do not know your story about how you got started with art, just give us the short little version of that.
Okay. Went to the Walmart to get a tire repair, and it took them a long time to do that. And while I was there, I walked around or wandered around the Walmart and stumbled upon a wood burning set. It might be something might want to do. And I bought that set and started playing with it. And lo and behold, the art started coming out. I did not know I had it in me. And I started playing with it and taught myself to use it. And I stopped counting at about 300 pieces. From there, I have no clue how many pieces I've done since then. But the art came out and it just flowed. Lots of art pieces, a lot of life stories, things I learned, things I heard from people, or things that show up in the art itself. I read the wood, and whatever the wood fit, that's what I would do. And what's that word? Metamorphosis. I start off with one piece or one idea, and when I'm finished, I end up with another piece or a combination of art pieces. And then I put stories to them based upon life experience or things that I hear from people or things that I learned, or a story of whatever the art piece is. I create a story to go with it to give it some life and add Gullah to it. And that way it would preserve the Gullah heritage or language for the younger people that might never heard it. They can read it and it'll be there for generation to generation to generation. I also donate a piece at the Penn Center for my family, children, that if they see it, they'll know that it's there in honor of my mama that graduated from Penn. And the art's doing good. It helped me, it helped other people, it helped educate the young folks, it preserved the heritage, I'll say it like that.
Absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned Penn. That's where I discovered your art. I'd never actually purchased, expensive art. And by expensive, I mean anything more than like $100, right? I've never spent big money on art until I saw your piece. The piece that I saw was called Twin Owls. And I have it hanging up in my room. And there's something about it was just like haunting, but like comforting at the exact same time. Okay. And just to see, wood burning as an art form, and the fact that, it has these, the name of your company is Gullah Folk Art, you know what I mean? So that you're clearly, tapping into your roots. But I want to ask you a little bit about, just coming up in this area. You said that your mom was a student at the Penn School back when it was the only game in town, really. At that point, there wasn't many options for people of color to really get their education. What was it like for you growing up? Where did you get your schooling? And did you know that you were Gullah back then? Like, is that a new term, or was that always what it was called?
No, it wasn't called Gullah. I knew I didn't speak plain English because at about 8 or 10 years old, I used to work with this guy. He said, "John, speak English." I thought I was speaking English. And when I went to school, earlier part of, elementary school, the teacher would try to get me to spell English. I spelled like I talk, which was Gullah. And it wasn't right. My spelling is po, I'll tell them, yeah. Anyhow, my grandmama spoke fluid Gullah. My granddaddy spoke fluid Gullah. My daddy didn't talk a whole lot, but my mom was educated, so she didn't speak much of it. But being around the grandparents, it grew up with it in you, and that's what I knew. And we just farm folks, we did farm at home, and we didn't do a lot of schooling. I went to school, but when time to farm, we farm. We didn't go to school. And if you miss more than 30 days of school, you get retained. So I missed the 6th grade. I repeat that. I repeat the 8th grade and the 11th grade. So by the time I get out of school, I was 3 years behind. But I did graduate. And
where did you graduate from?
Saint Helena High School. Yeah, I think I graduated in 69, and this
they integrate
the school in either 70, 71
yes.
or 72, something like that. But the last high school class, as in the graduating class from Saint Helena, I think it was 1970.
Right.
I think it was 1970. But I learned a lot after school because I had to. Self-taught. It took up to the 11th grade, I could hardly read. But the second year in the 11th grade, I learned enough to count words to get by, so to speak. But
so in that time, if I'm hearing it correctly, it was like, yes, school is important, and yes, your family was sending you to school, but the farm is the livelihood. So if you got to miss 30 days to take care of the farm, this is our livelihood. Everybody has to kind of team up and get that done.
Yeah, we would plant corn and sweet potato and peas, okra, tomatoes, cucumber, but your sole food was corn, because from the corn, we made grits, cornmeal, cream of wheat, and food for the animals. So we would plant the corn, harvest, take it to the mill up there by the corner store, Martin King, and have it milled into food, and that's what we eat. Grits, cornmeal, cream of wheat that we grew.
Wow.
So you had to farm to have enough to last you till the next season. So we had rice too. Rice wasn't plentiful, but we did grow some rice. And that's another reason for staying out of school. You had to keep the bird off the rice during the milk season. Before the rice, it flour, then it milk, then it hard into rice. And the bird will come along and eat all the fruit off it, so you have nothing left but the weed. And somebody had to stay home and mind the bird off the rice so we could have rice to eat.
Wow.
So we had chickens, we had hogs, we had cows, we had guineas, horses, and the horses were the farm animal. That's what we farmed, but we had no tractor.
Wow.
And we had an oxen that would pull the wagon for wood and it like a truck hauling the thing. We would oxen for that. So we were just farm folks, but we survived. And we did church, and we survived. And everybody turned out to be all right.
So I'm curious, I guess, was the military the first time that you found yourself in an integrated situation on a regular basis, or was it before that?
Well, I worked for, I could communicate with them. I could communicate. It wasn't a problem for me. But yes, away from home, that's the first time mix like that. Yeah.
And what was it like before the bridges came? I mean, can you remember or kind of describe the difference between like how life was?
I can tell you about what I heard. My granddad used to talk about a ferry that went from Ladies Island to Beaufort before the bridge. Now the bridge came along. I was old enough to understand, but we had no car, so we didn't go to Beaufort.
Right.
But they did build a bridge. I forgot what year it was, because I wasn't old enough to
traverse it.
Yeah. But they did build a wooden bridge. Then they built another bridge in 59. I remember that. The bridge now they're building 1959. I remember that bridge. And the old bridge, I saw it, because we had to go to the doctor once or twice. But we did the doctor at York Bailey. But we had to go to Beaufort for something, But it's not a regular commute for me before my time. But my granddaddy talked about a ferry that goes back and forth like that. Now, he tells me something that I find hard to believe. Then, he said he bought a 100-pound bag of rice in Beaufort. I guess it came over in the ferry, and he walked with that 100-pound of rice all the way to Seaside Road.
Wow.
I guess when you ain't got no other means, that's what you do. So
that's a long walk.
That's a long walk. But now my daddy, he said he used to go to school on Seaside Road at the Little Rosenwald School, and he walked from Hazel Farm, which is just on the other side of the bridge here, to school in the morning to get there on time, to meet Miss Major and Miss somebody else, the teacher name, to be there on time. And that's a lot, 10 miles.
Wow.
That's a lot of going, but man, you have to.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the Lowcountry Explorer Podcast.
So, Saint Helena now, compared to what it was, I guess, in that time, what has changed? What has not changed?
Whew. It changed. It grew. It mushroomed. Back in the earlier days, the 50s, if there's a car coming down the road, you know it's the policeman, the mailman, or who else? Somebody rich. We didn't have no cars. There were dirt roads. There wasn't many. There was a few cars, but us didn't have one. We didn't get a car till 56. 56. My granddaddy bought a 1946 Chevrolet pickup truck. And they had that, and then my daddy started getting cars after that. And we didn't have no electricity. We had lamp. That's how we studied, by the kerosene lamp. We didn't get electricity till 50-something, mid-50s and so on. And we didn't have refrigerator. We had ice box, where when the ice man came by, we would buy a square of ice, you buy that. And to keep it cold, if you buy enough of it, you put it in a burlap bag, put it in the ground, cover it over, and you go and cut a piece off, put it in a box, and use it like that.
Wow.
So time was, now I look back at it because I was young, and it wasn't hard for me because we never been hungry. We always had food and clothes and a place to stay, and the rest of it was work. We didn't have time to play, ball games, so we didn't have none of that. We had cows to take care of, horse to take care of, hogs to take care of, and farm, which seemed to be hard, but we didn't know it was hard. Right. It was a way of life.
Because you didn't know anything else.
No. Right? We had no leisure, so to speak. We had church. That about as leisure you're going to get.
So what has stayed the same with the island over all these years? What has not changed?
Fishing changed because they regulated that change. Now, used to be we could make a living out of the creek if you didn't mind doing it or had no other means. You could make life. You make a living crabbing, fishing, but we didn't do no commercial stuff. We just family fish, shrimp, fish, crab, stuff like that. What's not changed? Religion didn't change too much for me. It changed a little bit now, because back then we would seek. And now they don't do it anymore. You read the scripture and find out what the scripture does that. But back then we did what we was told, because not everybody could read.
Right.
And they carry on what they heard, what they learned, until you can read it for yourself. Because the church I was pastoring, I changed the method from seeking to read what the book say. Let's go with that. It was rough, but after 50, 60 years of one way, I turned it. Just do what the book say. And that's what everybody else was doing, but we didn't at that time. But when I got in charge of, I changed it to make it comply with what the book says. So that was a big change.
When you say seek, you mean, tell me more about that. Like how, describe that to me.
What we would do, if you are age that you want to join the church, they'll tell you have to seek your soul salvation. So you tie a right band on your head, or you be in solitude. Go off by yourself, nobody bother you, and you just pray. Talk to the Lord. And you get a teacher to understand or interpret your dreams that you have, and from that, the teacher will tell you whether you converted or not. Okay? Once you're converted, then they'll baptize you. Then you become a member of the church, and you just learn as you go from there.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. I feel like someone told me about that once, but I never really understood exactly how it worked.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess, going back to what we were talking about earlier with, okay, you didn't know Gullah was not the word that you used. What did people call people who were from the island or from the
probably Geechee.
Geechee, okay.
Yeah, probably Geechee. Yeah.
So that's why now I guess it's Gullah Geechee as in one.
Yeah, but they call it, well, my understanding of it there, the dialect is in two different spots. Charleston was doing Geechee, here was called Gullah. Now, further down, Savannah might be the same thing, but all on the coast, so they just combine the two because that's what it is, right. Gullah Geechee. Right. So it worked like that.
And in Georgia, they have like your freshwater Geechee or saltwater Geechee.
Okay, there's a difference. It's a difference in the dialect. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because on Saint Helena, there's two different, not species, dialects. Mm-hmm. Dialects. So where we live is one dialect. Go up the road a piece is another dialect. Go back is another dialect. We can understand each other, but the pitch of it is different. Yeah. The pitch is different. I used to do one part of the island speak fast. And if you don't know, you wouldn't know what they say. And another part of the island had a slang to it or slur to it. It's a different, and I guess it comes from the older people, the way they talk. The children pick it up like that.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
You're listening to the Lowcountry Explorer Podcast.
So I know that you've been around the world, especially with your military service. When it came down to, all right, I'm going to settle down and raise my family, why did you choose to come back home? Why, what about home brought you back to this region to build your life?
Well, I didn't do a lot of years active at first. And I went from home to Fort Jackson, from Fort Jackson to Fort Gordon, from Fort Gordon to Fort Benning, from Fort Benning, Seattle, Washington, and Vietnam. When I left Vietnam, I came back home for vacation, and they sent me to Fort Hood, Texas. And from Fort Hood is where I discharged, and I came back home. That's what I told them before I leave. I'd like to go home and catch crab and make more money than this. I think my pay was $249 a month.
Wow. And what year is that?
70, between 70 and 71. Because I went in June 69 to June of 70. Then June 71, it's 2 years. So that took over the first enlistment there. And like I said, I got out and came home. And I did the GI Bill. And then I started working. I worked for a bulldozer company. And then I left that and I went working for the Naval Hospital for 3 years. And I left and went to Paris, Holland. And I stayed there a combination of 23 years with military time and those 2 times. And what I was doing, I did heavy equipment or engineering equipment. Because I did garbage truck, bulldozer, crane, front end loader, whatever stuff like that at Paris Holland. And that's what I did before I got to the Naval Hospital. I was in the kitchen there for 3 years. So the time went on, and I got out of that and went in the commissary for 5 years. Got out of that and did school buses. And I did the buses for a while. Then I became the field supervisor trainer for bus drivers. When the CDL was mandatory in 89, 90. So since I had a Class 2 license, I just helped my people or the people that was driving so they can keep their job. And I started off almost volunteer doing it, and they put me in the position to do it, so they paid me for doing it. So I did that for 10 years. And I did the RTA at night. Now I got working at commissary. And then when I resigned the commissary, I did the school bus. But now doing the school bus and that RTA bus at nights for 7 long years, night and day, 7 days a week. Whew. But I got out of that because I was actually burnt out. And then the VA took care of me from there. So that stopped the work.
So when did your art start to become?
Right shortly before I got out of the commissary. Yeah, I was doing school buses. Yeah. But it was too much altogether there.
Yeah.
But when I finally got out of RTA and joined the VA, then the art started mushrooming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really great. I mean, it's not a lot of times that you meet people who got started in their craft later in life, first of all. So to anyone who's listening who, might be dabbling or want to take it up, and then, you're feeling like, oh, I can't start. How old were you when you started really making money from your art?
52, 53.
That's
in neighborhood.
Yeah. So, I mean, it can be done.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have a day job, so I create a job, and I find out something. But this is about me. If I want to do something, I pursue it. I pursue it, and me pursuing this art, because I'm self-taught. Me pursuing this art, the mushroom,
Right.
it just turned into a business, so to speak. Now, I had a question in my mind, because my boy, at age 3, he was drawing cartoon. And I couldn't figure where this boy get this cartoon from, this art from. Lo and behold, the genes in me passed on to him. I had no clue till later in life. Then I found, that's where that come from. And now he doing engineering, what's that word? Inventing stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, your art, has really reached, I remember over the summer at Penn, somebody came in to, purchase your art, and they want it shipped to California and this place. And, they're spending, thousands of dollars on these pieces. I mean, how does that make you feel? That's something that you just do late night as a hobby. It means so much to people, brings people to tears even.
Well, I sold a piece one time to a fella from, I think he said Europe. I said, now I'm international.
Exactly.
Going all over the place. Yeah. It's nice to know that, because most of this art I pray over it is in here. And you can feel it that's what I put into it. And it draws terror to some people. Some people say they make the chills feel. So it's something that you can use. It's education to some, it's inspiration to some. Some other words I can't pronounce now, but it's good.
Yeah.
It's good to know. Like I said, the language that I put into it is to preserve it, so the younger kids will see it, and it ain't hard to read. Just read the syllable as it is, and then you can figure it out from there.
Do you feel that it's kind of like giving them the empowerment to say their Gullah? It was a term for you back then. People didn't really know what you were because you talked different. Probably even in the military, you sounded different from the others. But now, it's sort of like a badge of honor for people to be able to tap into their history and where they came from.
Now that's a good point, because if you have never heard it, you wouldn't know. But being able to read it, see it on paper or art, be able to see it every day if you got it in your house, pretty soon you'll be able to relate to it. Right. And then you can go elsewhere and figure things out,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's really exciting. Well, I'm so glad that you came by the podcast studio, brand spanking new podcast studio here at the Beaufort Digital Corridor. Our partners in, distributing this podcast, Lowcountry Explorer. And I guess if you were, talking to somebody who's hearing this and they have never, been to Saint Helena, what is one place, or maybe you can do your top 3 places that you would want them to make sure they stop by to really kind of capture that essence of what it means to be a part of the Saint Helena community?
Well, the Penn Center would be one main place. And if they get a chance to go by the praise houses, there's a couple over there. Where else can we go to?
What about to eat? Like, I know you're a foodie a little bit, you know, like where would you take somebody for a lunch if they just wanted to
The Gullah Grub is a place you can go.
Mm-hmm.
The Foodie Frog is a place you can go. What else over there? There is one further down. I forgot the name of that.
Seaside?
Yeah.
Seaside Bar and Grill, yeah.
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 I've been there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is, you get a taste of the island, you'll be able to figure your way around. Just kind of ask questions here and there. You be able to maneuver around, see things, and learn.
Some of those places, they may see your art, because I just go places that I just see your art. I recognize it now that I'm, I've been exposed to it. I know your stuff instantly when I see it, and there's little sprinkles of it all over.
Yes, I got some at the Abenards on Port Royal, and people would come back and tell me, I seen it. And then, they buy and they put them up. And once you've seen a couple of pieces, you'll be able to recognize it anywhere you go. Mm-hmm.
And so if anyone wants to get in touch with you, you have a website, or where should I send them?
I can't pronounce the website, but you can
Gullah?
reach me at Gullah Woodburning
Folk art.
Folkart.com, I think.
Yeah, GullahWoodburningFolkart.com.
Reverend Johnnie Simmons. If you put that in the computer, you'll find me.
Yes, because you are kind of a celebrity. Everybody knows you, knows of you, and hey, I mean, you should not, they say it's a cliche, but you should not wait until people are no longer here to give them their flowers, you know what I mean?
That is true.
And what the work that you're doing, it's truly transformative, and it means something. And I'm just so glad that you're able to pop into the podcast.
Glad I stopped by too.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate it.
That wraps up another episode of Lowcountry Explorer, as we explore the voices, the stories, and the hidden corners of the South Carolina Lowcountry. I'm your host, Sasha Horne. Thanks for joining the journey and celebrating the people and places that make this region so unforgettable. Now, I want you to be sure to follow and subscribe on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and of course, you can connect with us over at lowcountryexplorer.com. Until next time.